The Hungerford Massacre, which occurred in August 1987, was a tragic and horrifying event that shook the United Kingdom. It was a day that forever scarred the quiet town of Hungerford, Berkshire, and left a nation in shock. This true story delves into the events of that fateful day, examining the background of the perpetrator and the devastating impact on the community. Hungerford, a picturesque market town nestled along the banks of the River Kennet, was known for its tranquility. It was the kind of place where neighbors knew each other's names and crime was virtually non-existent. But on the sunny morning of August 19, 1987, this serenity would be shattered in the most unimaginable way. Michael Robert Ryan, the man responsible for the Hungerford Massacre, was a loner with a troubled past. Born in 1960, he had a difficult childhood marked by parental neglect and instability. As he grew older, he became increasingly isolated and obsessed with firearms. He legally owned several weapons, which would prove to be a deadly combination with his troubled mind. It began like any other summer morning. Residents of Hungerford were going about their daily routines, blissfully unaware of the horror that awaited them. Michael Ryan, dressed in combat gear and armed with an arsenal of weapons, embarked on a killing spree that would claim the lives of 16 innocent people. Ryan's rampage started with the murder of his own mother, Dorothy Ryan, at their home. He then set fire to the house, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. His next targets were innocent bystanders in the town. Armed with an automatic rifle, he indiscriminately shot people on the streets, in their homes, and even in their gardens. As news of the unfolding tragedy reached the authorities, a massive police operation swung into action. Officers from neighboring towns rushed to Hungerford, trying to contain the chaos. But Ryan's firepower and ruthlessness made it incredibly difficult for them to approach. A tense standoff ensued, with Ryan holding the police at bay for hours. The town was in lockdown, and panic gripped its residents. It was a day of terror and uncertainty. Finally, after several hours, Ryan turned one of his firearms on himself, ending the horrific ordeal. The extent of the carnage became evident as the town began to assess the damage. 16 people were dead, and many others were injured physically and emotionally. The Hungerford Massacre left a permanent scar on the community. Families were shattered, and survivors had to grapple with the trauma of that day for the rest of their lives. It also prompted a re-evaluation of the UK's gun laws and raised important questions about mental health and its intersection with access to firearms. In the wake of the Hungerford Massacre, the UK government enacted stricter gun control laws, banning semi-automatic rifles and tightening regulations on firearm ownership. The tragedy served as a catalyst for change in a country where gun violence had been relatively rare. Hungerford, though forever marked by the events of that day, came together as a resilient community. Support poured in from across the nation, and a memorial garden was created to honor the victims. The survivors found strength in each other, leaning on their shared experiences to cope with the trauma. The Hungerford Massacre remains one of the darkest chapters in the history of the United Kingdom. It serves as a haunting reminder of the devastating consequences that can result from a combination of mental illness and easy access to firearms. While the town of Hungerford has moved forward, the memory of that dreadful day still lingers. The legacy of the victims lives on in the hearts of their loved ones, and the lessons learned from this tragedy continue to shape the nation's approach to gun control and mental health. In the end, the Hungerford Massacre stands as a solemn testament to the resilience of a community in the face of unimaginable horror and the enduring need for greater understanding and compassion in the realm of mental health and firearms regulation.